John and I run the California International Marathon almost every year. I wore the Nike Zoom Vaporfly 4%, which I'll review again in this race. I wore them 3 weeks ago for the first time in a marathon where I PR'd, and my legs weren't sore at all after the race or the next day. This was a real test to see if that was because of the shoes, or because of the course, or because I ran slower 3 weeks ago than I did at this race since I PR'd again by 2 minutes. The day before the race, I used the compression again, Air Relax, after walking through their expo. It was my cousin Ryan's first marathon. We went in the late afternoon and I felt like it was more crowded than previous years. This year the marathon doubled as a U.S. Marathon Championships, so there were a lot of fast American runners. CIM was also in Boston, documentary, and touted as the #1 Boston qualifier. But take it from me, someone who's run it 5 times, it is not downhill. The race is rolling hills with a net downhill. The race started at 7 a.m. and the temperature was in the high 40s with no wind. It was a perfect day. This race is also a PAUSATF scoring race, so a lot of people from our run team, Excelsior, ran this race too. I ran the race at a pretty even 7:10 pace and ran with people at around the same pace. I noticed that so many people wore the same Nike Zoom Vaporfly 4%. My legs felt pretty good the entire race, but I was really afraid of bonking since 6 miles into the race, I started to get hungry. The noon provided on the course just didn't have enough calories, and I ended up taking about 3.5 cliff shots throughout the race. Fortunately, I never really bonked, and where my glutes tightened up going up the little bridge at around mile 22 last year, didn't happen this year. However, different from the Outer Banks Marathon 3 weeks ago, I did feel my right glute and hip start to tighten. This is pain I've been dealing with for a good half year. I really had to focus to keep pace, although my quads that usually feel like lead toward the end didn't feel as heavy. The Nike 4% are like Hokas, but fast. I train in Hokas, but I'm never able to hit pace with them. But with the 4% I am. John, who also wore the same shoes, also felt like he had a lot more cushion, but his legs still gave out the same toward the end of the marathon. Also, I was starting to get a black toenail on my right big toe, and I did get a blister and black toenail on my second left toe, despite wearing Injinji socks and using Body Glide.
Jonathan Kimura on the men's side, and Sally Post from Georgia. Amy Schnittinger, Sherry Lee and Amanda Davis.
I even had it in me to sprint sub-6 pace to the finish in 3:07:43. John and I cleaned up at our hotel and then walked back to cheer on my cousin finishing his first marathon. Unlike Outer Banks 3 weeks ago though, I was having trouble walking around after the race, and my legs were incredibly sore. In fact, the next day, not only were my quads and hamstrings sore, which is usual, but my abs and upper back were sore too. That was very different from Outer Banks. So I guess it wasn't the shoes that saved me from the soreness. I'd say they're worth the money, but I will put these away until my next half and full marathon.